Hi, this is Kamera again. We're on day number 315, John chapter 16 through 18. Starts off where Jesus is telling his disciples that they're going to suffer mistreatments that he had suffered, such as the being kicked out of synagogues, the executions, all because these leaders feel like they're doing the service of God. They never knew God. So Jesus tells them that he's going to be going away and that he's sending back an advocate. This advocate will convict the world of sin. The Spirit will tell you whatever Jesus tells him. Whatever Jesus tells them, the Spirit's going to receive that and give that message to them. Isn't that something? So Jesus talks about him leaving and then them seeing him again. He says, when I leave, you guys are going to grieve. The world is going to rejoice. But then you guys are going to receive joy after that. And he's talking about the grievous part of him dying and how the world rejoiced over the sacrifice and all. But then he says, you guys already know that he's going to return. And that's when they're going to receive joy, when he's risen. So, yeah. And he's warning them of this. Jesus, he was very thorough in making sure they understood that he was going to be leaving, but I am coming back. Very thorough on who sent him. He says, I came to this world from the Father. Now I will leave and return to the Father. He says, take heart, because I have overcome the world. Isn't that something? He's overcome the world. That right there is pretty deep, because you think about how he's overcome the temptations of this world. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just saying. Jesus prays to God. This prayer right here, though, he talks about what his mission was about. He talks about his disciples, how he just wants God to bless them, to protect them, to feed them the whole, his word. And and not to let the enemy take them. Jesus, he prayed for his disciples. I really do love that part. And in his prayer, he even says, even this prayer is not only for my disciples, the one who are with me now, but also to those who hear the message and believe. So the prayer is also for me as well. Jesus prayed for me. That's pretty awesome. That's awesome, because I am a believer. I heard the message and I believe. And so he prays, he says, you are in me, I am in you. May they also be in us. Just saying. So after that, Jesus goes with to meet with his disciples. And so get this, you have Judas Iscariot and his band of people, his entourage. Yeah. They come and they seek Jesus. And in this book here, it shows that when they asked about Jesus of Nazareth, he said, I am he. And when he says that, they draw back and fall to the ground. Right? And so he lets them know, ask who you're here for. They say again, he said, I am he. And so get this. Peter talks a lot of mess. We see that he is like the voice of the disciples there. He is excited about Jesus. That is one thing you can truly say about Peter. He is excited about Jesus, and he just want to just be there to support Jesus, right? So Peter takes out his sword and he slashes off one of the slaves who came to get Jesus, one of their ears. And so, yeah, Jesus tells Peter to sheathe his sword. And yeah, so Jesus, he says, I have to suffer this bitter cup, right? He says he has to drink of this bitter cup, or this suffering cup, or what have you. Anyway, you guys know that he has to go through all of this. This cup of suffering is what he says. I have to drink of this cup of suffering. So they arrest Jesus. And so they mention Jesus not Jesus, but Peter and another disciple who followed Jesus. And one of those disciples, because he was an acquaintance of the high priest, he actually went along with Jesus while Peter stayed at a distance. Isn't that something? So when they talk about Peter, Peter just hangs out with the locals, just trying to keep an eye from a distance. But this is also during the time that he denies Jesus 3 times. Yeah. So Jesus' question about his teachings and his followings. Jesus is like, everybody know what I taught, what I teach. I preach in the synagogues very often. And so he says, you can ask basically anyone what I teach. And so once they were done with him, they sent him to Pilate. Pilate was the governor. He was a Roman. And the reason why they sent him to Pilate is because the Romans are the ones who are permitted to execute. They wanted Jesus dead. So I love when Pilate asked Jesus if he was king of the Jews. Jesus tells him, my kingdom is not of this world. It is not an earthly kingdom. Isn't that something? So Pilate doesn't see anything wrong. He sends him back to Jesus, to his people, and he says, and he tells the people that Jesus is not guilty. Jesus is not guilty. But he says that you guys have this custom where you release a prisoner, we can release Jesus. They're like, no, we want Barabbas. An innocent man. So there you have it, guys. We ask God to help us to understand and see what he wants in his word. But thank you, Lord, for praying for me. Thank you. There you have it, guys. Day number 315, John chapter 16 through 18. You have a God-filled blessed day.